Ever feel like you're just drowning in this sea of documents and spreadsheets and files for your projects? You know what I mean? Today, we are diving deep, everybody, into the art of taming those project artifacts because, let's be honest, they can really make or break even the most well-planned endeavors.
Absolutely. I mean, these artifacts are so much more than just paperwork. It's like they're the lifeblood of your project. They hold the knowledge, the decisions, the history, all of that drives success.
Okay, so let's kind of unpack this a little bit. We've got some research here on best practices for this, case studies from different industries. We've got construction, IT, you name it, we've got it. And even some, I'd say, philosophical musings on just what is information management all about. So get ready for some aha moments, as we like to say.
Yeah. And you know what I think is really fascinating is that so many project teams, they get so laser focused on just the doing, that they kind of neglect the recording, the keeping track of it all. But honestly, when you can nail down a really solid system for just managing all these artifacts, it's like you're laying this foundation of just clarity and control for your whole project.
Yeah, it's like, if you think about it, like a construction site, it's like the difference between having blueprints just scattered everywhere, blowing in the wind, who knows, versus a site where everyone knows exactly where to find the latest version, the approved plans, all of that. And our sources, that's really what they emphasize. Organization is just key.
Exactly, 100%. Think about, like you said, construction. You've got your blueprints, contracts, those change orders that are always popping up. And these things, they're constantly evolving. I mean, without a system, it's chaos. But just imagine if everyone on the team could instantly, just like that, snap their fingers, access the right version of a drawing, and they know, they have that confidence that every single change is documented, it's approved. I mean, that's powerful. That's the power of effective artifact management.
It's about going from, wait, where's that document? I had it 5 minutes ago, I swear, to boom, here's exactly what I need, complete history, all of it. No more digging through emails, no more, oh, it's in the shared drive somewhere. Speaking of which, the what, when, where, and who of each artifact, that's something that comes up in the source material quite a bit.
Yeah, it's about being intentional, Like, let's say you've got, again, back to the construction example. If you're using a platform like SharePoint or something to manage those drawings, it's not just about having a place to put them. You're leveraging the version history. You're using that check-in, check-out system, permissions, all of that to really streamline collaboration and make sure everyone's on the same page. Or in IT, you've got Jira. That becomes way more than just a bug tracker. It's your living repository for your code, documentation, every decision that the team makes along the way.
So it's not just about having these systems in place. It's about really using all of their features to their full potential when it comes to this artifact management.
Exactly, 100%. And you know what? That kind of leads us to, I think, a really crucial aspect of all of this, and that is version control. Which, honestly, you can think about version control kind of like it's your project's time machine. And a good time machine, because it makes sure that everyone's always operating with the same correct information.
It really is one of those things, version control, that sounds, I don't know, kind of simple on the surface. But when you get it right, whoa, it has huge implications for your project.
Yeah, big time. It's like, when you have those nightmare scenarios of, wait, are we sure we're looking at the right version? This is how you avoid that?
Yeah, and it's not just about, saving yourself that confusion and those headaches. Our sources really highlight how having robust version control can, in the long run, save you time. It can actually save you money, too.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And just think about the cost of even like a tiny, tiny error, just one little thing. Because someone, somewhere, was working off of an outdated document. Multiply that, right, by how many people you have on a project, and suddenly you've got the snowball effect of mistakes.
Yeah. Ouch. Not a fun thought. So how do we prevent that? How do we stop that from happening? What does our source material say?
Well, it really does start with, those the basic foundational things, right? Clear document versioning. But what I think is really interesting is they talk about, instead of just using dates, like October 14th version or whatever, they say to try to incorporate some more meaningful labels that kind of reflect how the document has evolved,
So instead of October 14th, it's like client feedback incorporated or final approved version, something like that.
Yeah, you got it. It's like you're giving each version this little bit of context. It's easier to understand where it fits into the whole project timeline, all of it.
I like it. And then, of course, let's not forget about our good friend, the detailed changelog.
Oh, the changelog, always important. But it's not just about, this change to that next. They really emphasize why something changed,
Mhm.
who requested it, what problem did it solve, that type of detail. And I think when you have all of that, it's gold. You can really understand how a project has evolved over time.
Oh, yeah. And for those listeners out there, you know who you are, who really love a good audit trail. That's a dream come true right there. That detailed changelog, you'll be living in it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And speaking of audit trails, it's interesting. Our sources really emphasize, I think, especially when you're in industries that are super highly regulated, like pharmaceuticals or something like that, how important a good audit trail can be.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Like you've got something like clinical trial data, you've got compliance documents, all these research reports, and all of that. Like accuracy and that traceability, that's critical. It's everything.
And that's when a really strong, robust audit trail is like, it's your best friend. It's in your corner. Because if anyone ever has a question about a certain document or a decision, you could just trace it back step by step, every modification, who approved what, all the way back to the very beginning.
It's like having a detective on call just for your project documentation. I love it. But let's be honest. Even if we have, like, perfect version control, all of our I's dotted, it's crossed, if those artifacts, they're buried in some, I don't know, like, digital abyss somewhere, they're not doing us much good, are they?
No, not at all. And you're right. Like having that accessibility is just as important as all that version control. They go hand in hand. And that is where, my friends, centralized repositories really come into play.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, right?
Yeah.
A place for everything and everything in its place. But in this case, instead of like that junk drawer we all have, the one I'm talking about, it's more like we want this really secure, super organized hub. All your important project information lives there, right?
Right, exactly. And this is where choosing the right tool for the job for your team, that becomes so important. The source material we've got, it actually mentions a bunch of different options here, and they all have, their pros and cons. It's not
Yeah.
a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Right, of course, yeah. Well, we've got SharePoint, which I feel like that one comes up a lot with those bigger organizations because it can handle that heavy document management, all that collaboration stuff they need.
Yeah, and then there's Dropbox, which a lot of people, they love Dropbox, right? Because it's
Mhm.
so easy to use. And the syncing, it's just seamless. So it's great for teams that, they really just want something that's simple, straightforward, and everyone can just easily get what they need.
And then, of course, you can't forget about the Google Workspace. It's like they've got that whole suite of cloud-based tools. So you got that real-time collaboration. It integrates with all the other Google stuff. So
Yeah, and the key takeaway there is you really got to figure out what your team needs,
yeah.
right? Like what are those specific needs? And then you choose the repository, the system that really aligns with the way you work. How complex is your project? All of that.
It's like any other tool, right? You got to use the right one for the job. I mean,
Yeah.
you wouldn't use a hammer to try to tighten a screw, would you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you would not. But, it's not just about like picking the platform and then you're done. We got to talk about structure too.
Yeah.
How you organize all this.
Yeah, the art of organizing those files and folders. Because
Yes.
anyone who's ever worked on a project knows it can get out of control fast.
Oh, yeah. I can get real messy real quick.
Yeah.
And that's where using things like metadata tagging, that's where that becomes so crucial. I mean, just imagine you need to find a specific document.
Mm-hmm.
You don't remember the name. Who does? But you remember some keywords or maybe the date it was created or even like what phase of the project it was from. And boom, you find it.
It's like having superpowers, a superpower search engine just for all your project files. Love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these platforms, they have those built-in search functionalities that are really powerful when you know how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to just quickly find what you need when you need it, I mean, that's huge. That can really change the game for how your team works.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But even with the best of intentions, the best systems in place, I mean, this isn't one of those set it and forget it kind of things, right?
They say that about a lot of things, but honestly, this is not one of them. You can't just set it up and walk away. Our sources are very clear about that. It takes work, to keep it going.
Okay, so you're saying ongoing assessment, always being open to refining the system.
100%, yeah. You've got to check in regularly. How are the tools working? Get feedback from the team. Are they actually using the system or are they going rogue? And even doing like a periodic audit every now and then, that can really help.
Uh-huh.
Are there any bottlenecks? Can we streamline the process? It's about being agile, and making sure that your artifact management system, it grows and evolves as your project needs to, right?
Like tending a garden, right? You wouldn't just plant some seeds and then walk away and expect like a bountiful harvest, right? Got to water it, got to weed it, make adjustments along the way. That's how you get that thriving ecosystem of information, all that good stuff.
That is such a good analogy.
Yeah.
You're right on the money with that one. And just like that garden, right, a well-maintained artifact management system, it's going to bear fruit. You're going to have that clarity, that efficiency, and then ultimately, that's how you get to project success. That's the goal, right?
That's the dream. So as we kind of like start to wrap up our little deep dive here, what are some of the, I don't know, like the key takeaways for our listeners out there? What do you want them to remember?
You know, I think the biggest one, the one that really sticks with me, is just remembering that managing your project artifacts, this isn't just like an admin task. This isn't just checking boxes for the sake of it. This is strategic. This is important stuff.
It's about building that strong foundation from day one for the whole project. It's your communication, your collaboration, making sure everyone's making decisions with the right information. All of that, right?
Yep, all of that. And embrace the technology.
Yeah.
There's so many great tools out there to help you with this. But, choose wisely.
Yeah.
Do your research. Figure out what your team really needs and pick the one that really works, and then use it. Don't be afraid to really dive in and use all those features.
And last but not least, this isn't a one-time thing. This is a journey.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Mhm.
Always be evaluating, adapting, refining those systems, and making sure they're still working for your project.
Because in the world of projects, and let's be honest, in life, information is power, right? So effective artifact management, that's your key. That's how you harness that power.
100%. I love that. Could not agree more. It's an investment. It's an investment in your project. It's an investment in your team. And honestly, it's an investment in yourself. You'll thank yourself later.
Well said. Well said. All right, everybody, that is all the time we have for today's deep dive. But until next time, you know what to do. Keep those artifacts organized, those versions controlled, and those insights flowing. We'll see you all next time.